Welcome to our Elko County Commissioner Delmo Andreozzi in studio in advance of this afternoon's regular county meeting, 1:30 today. Welcome, Commissioner. Great to see you.
Thank you, Lori. It's always great to see you and being in studio with you today. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, it's great. We're going to catch up on all these agenda items today. We'll just kind of dive right in, and then we can just shoot the breeze at the end if there's time left over.
Sounds good to me. I like shooting the breeze. I'm actually really good at it.
Okay, perfect. So the county commissioners will meet at 1:30 in the regular Nanini Administrative Building meeting room in Suite 102. So just to remind anybody listening, that meeting will get underway at 1:30. If you're listening to our Encore program, well, you can go and check out the archive online at elkocountynv.net. So
yes,
fair enough.
We appreciate people's civic engagement and being involved in issues that are important to you and just being aware. So it's good. It's thanks for reminding people that they can participate, because that's what the public process is supposed to be all about.
Well, and it's true. You generally get a little more interest, too, if you haven't noticed. Filing for a candidate for office opens on March 4th, I think that Monday. And it's 2 weeks, so it goes by fast, the 4th through the 15th. You are not one of the commissioners up for re-election.
I am not.
He just sighed and smiled. Yes.
But, Lori, it's been such a privilege and to serve the Elko County and, being in my third term and just having had such an opportunity to grow up here and be a part of so many great things. And it's even though I'm on my last term, there's still so many great opportunities for people to be involved. And, there's positions that'll be open at the city council. There's positions that'll be open at Elko County. And it's just good to be involved in your community and part of the policy decision-making process. And it's good to have diverse thought and diverse representation.
Well, there you go. You can go to elkocountynv.net, drill into the clerk's department, and then you can find a listing of the seats that are available by county commission. It's district represented, Delmo, and that's important. I've already talked to some people who said, I think I'm going to do this, and then you remind them that they have to live in a certain district.
Yeah,
it's not
so
at large.
that is a little bit different, and they are population based. So, with that being the case, as you can imagine, my district is very, very small geographically, but population, they're all about the same, but mine's about half of the city of Elko, and that's about it. So you contrast that with someone like Wild E, for example. He has a significantly large geographical area that's his district. So really small district that I'm in, and Commissioner Carr's a little bit bigger, and then everybody else gets a little bit smaller from as far larger geographically, I mean.
Yep, that's a lot of space and a lot of jackrabbits in that case. So don't get too excited out there. So anyway, just getting that bit of business out of the way. And again, the meeting will start, and we can kind of gloss over a couple of items. I know there's going to be a presentation from Wells High School future farmers regarding the Wine Cup Gamble land exchange, which I thought was actually kind of a dead issue.
I don't know if it is a dead issue or not, but it's something that we're very interested in. And, because for me, it's just because of the magnitude of it and what the purpose is. And that's a great area up there for a lot of other recreating purposes. So it's something that's certainly important to me as an individual, and the commission has been kept an eye on this. I don't know if it is going away, but this particular item, it's great to see these young folks do a presentation on this, and it's kind of like a competition. So they've got to do this here, and it'll be interesting to see what their point of view is and how they argue for that, and it could be very enlightening, I think. Unfortunately, though, I got to notice that this item is going to be tabled today because, as I understand it, the Wells School was closed for some reason that I don't know, so they're not going to... Oh, was it snow? So they're not going to be able to be bussed here. I just know that this will be moved to the March 6th meeting, but I'm still excited to see what this topic is all about. It'll be an interesting to see what position they take and how they defend it.
Oh, good. Last time commissioners met, there was some of an update on the water rights buyout program, and this agenda item will include the executive director of Central Nevada Regional Water Authority and the Humboldt Regional Water Authority. Jeff Fontaine's going to talk about this. We understood that there's quite a bit of interest from local ranchers.
There is quite a bit of interest. I don't know specifically over whether it's Elko County or other areas at all, but something certainly that I'm very interested in finding out for sure. Who has been applying, or what areas it is. But essentially, the state set aside some dollars to buy some water rights back. As we have a lot of over appropriated basins, we have some permits that are over appropriated, and so I think it's a way for the state to get us back into a water balance scenario. And so what my understanding is, right now they have more applications than they have money to fund. So it's a matter of prioritizing them and then going from there. And then there was a recent Supreme Court case that has to do with these water rights that I'm really not sure what that was about. So it's my understanding that Mr. Fontaine will also be telling us about that Supreme Court ruling as well, and then just kind of give us an update on this buyback program. But seems to be wildly popular with people, and it's one of those things that seems to have over time gotten really off the rail, to have a situation where you're over appropriated. And this just reminds me of that old saying that whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting, I guess. So, it's something that certainly is important to all of us in just life and agricultural and all those needs that we have out there. So it'll be interesting to see how the state continues to navigate this issue.
Yeah, it's something our retiring senator, Pete Goigachia, worked very hard on this issue in particular, Delmo, and I guess this is his last hurrah, because I think he'll be finished here in a month or so.
He will, and wow, what a champion, really a fantastic legislator for the state of Nevada and for us locally. And boy, I don't know if anybody knew water as well as he did. So he really knew water and really was a strong proponent of that. And so I'm glad to see something being done. I know that the state engineer has a lot of pressure and a lot of, there's a lot of development, there's a lot of demand, and it's just a balance with the resource that you have. So big challenges there.
So if anyone is interested in, as you said, big challenges, Senator Goigachia's position is one of those that will be up for election. I know there's at least one announced candidate, but again, filing will open on March 4th if anybody's interested in propping up or becoming a candidate for a state Senate seat. So that's a big one. Elko Justice Court on the agenda, and that is to appoint a judge pro tem for Justice Court in retired attorney David Locke. Yeah,
and so we haven't had a pro tem judge for a while. Usually we'd have like a senior judge take over a court for, like, if one of our judges had a conflict, or maybe they're on vacation or whatever the case may be. And so this, some of the senior judges maybe not quite as available, so this kind of sets someone in place so that just in case we have a vacancy in the judge that the court can go on.
Oh, that's nice. And he can probably help when there are vacations and things like that.
Absolutely.
Too. Yes.
Vacations and conflicts basically are the main priority, or an illness or something like that.
Right. So next time I see David Locke at yoga, I'll have to say, hey, you are very relaxed, sir. And now he was looking for something else to do, I guess.
Yes, I know.
On to the Elko County District Attorney's Office. And I did not realize, we have a Ruby Mountain Wrestling program, and they're looking to extend their lease of some county property. What property is that? Do you know, Delmo?
Yeah, I do. I didn't know initially, so I had to look into this a little bit. But at the roundabout in Spring Creek where the fire station is, the Elko County has some land over there, and the this wrestling group uses a building on that land and has for quite a while. And their lease is getting ready to expire. It's got some time, but I understand the whole position. They want to reinvest in some that infrastructure there, and so to do that, they'd like to extend the lease. Makes perfectly good sense to me to do that, because then whatever money they invest into that property, they've got a little bit more security and longevity use of that facility. But apparently they've been there quite a while, and that's where it's located.
Oh, that's nice. So again, supporting student athletes in the old fire station there in Spring Creek for the Ruby Mountain Wrestling program. So that'll be a presentation. I know that you really get excited about road projects.
Oh man, do I ever.
Being former road commissioner.
Yes. Roads are
Public
my
Works.
life. Yeah.
Yes.
And I used to joke with my wife, because I actually really love the smell of asphalt. And I used to tell her, boy, if they could just make perfume smell like asphalt, you would be in such big trouble, because I'd get her some asphalt perfume, because I just love the smell of asphalt. It just smells like, to me, it's progress. And so we've got a couple of projects that are coming up, annual ones. This we've got our magnesium chloride that's out there. We do a lot of dust abatement treatment, palliative treatments, and that's what this particular item is for G1, and then on H1, and then H2 is a paving project. So the infrastructure tax that we've had this program, and we've been just knocking out these roads one after another, and the next one on the priority list, and the one that we're going out to bid for, or have gone out to bid for, and we're looking at making award, is the Lower Lee Road. It's a full depth reclamation and paving project, and the bids that came in were really close to each other. So that's really good to see. I think it's a good time to bid, and so I think that was beneficial, and just another one of those projects so we can tick off the to-do list.
All right, so that'll be discussed. Again, people, as you said, get excited about their roads. It's important, especially in rural Nevada, and so that'll be a great topic of discussion today. Mm-hmm. So, and thanks for helping to steer some of those resources in the place, like you said, where the asphalt is most needed. Yep. And for me, it's the smell of a freshly polished fire truck. I really like that, yeah. I like that too. I like that smell when you walk in the fire station.
Yeah,
it's so
and I remember you were like a volunteer.
I was for about 10 years. I know.
So yeah, I can appreciate that.
So there you go, sometimes. So on to an item of congressionally directed spending application. This is a big deal, or could be. It's a big project proposed out in Spring Creek, the Ruby Vista Ranch, LLC. Mm-hmm. And I think according to the attachments, this was a big planned development, Delmo, and I think something like 1,800 homes and and its own shopping, possibly a school. I mean, a big development, mm-hmm. and they're asking for congressional help for, I believe, is it the water and sewer?
Yes, okay. That's basically it. So, they've been around quite a while. This is the old Big W Ranch that's basically across the road from Spring Creek High School. So this has been around for a long time. They've tried a number of times to get different funding opportunities, and at one time they even actually came to Elko County and asked for us to create a LID, or a local improvement district. And I really had a lot of reticence about doing that because just with my experience with the development community, and making sure that that's always done fairly and equitably, and everybody can have the same opportunity. So, the LID was never really pursued, but they've come before and asked. The State Infrastructure Bank had applications with some ARPA funds that were available here a year or so ago, and they asked for us to sponsor that, and we did, and they applied. They did qualify for that, but they were not awarded. So now what's coming back is you're seeing that there's some earmarks that are at the federal level now, again, that senators have some type of discretionary spending for earmark projects. So that's basically what they're asking for, is for us to sponsor something like that. And I don't necessarily mind sponsoring something like that, especially if some of this infrastructure could be used to more on a regional basis and kind of alleviate some of the water or wastewater issues that may be available out there with the Spring Creek area too, because there's some challenges out there, particularly with wastewater, because of the densities and the and the septic systems that are out there in that area. So we've heard they went through a preliminary plat and started on a subdivision, and that preliminary plat's about to expire. There's been some discussion that they may change their densities to be more compatible with what's out there, but we haven't seen that yet. So that's really don't know what those details are at this point in time. But for me personally, I don't have a problem for them asking for some congressional earmark monies if they can get it, and help the region out there. So that's basically what this one's about.
All right. Doesn't appear from the agenda. I mean, it's discussion and consideration of the request to sponsor an application. Mm-hmm. Doesn't appear to direct the staff to do that, or
my expectation would be they're responsible for whatever work that needs to be done, or if we have to do something, then that we're reimbursed for it, or however that would be. But I'm not anticipating us having any direct involvement other than being a sponsor, which we've done many times before for different different projects in the community. You know, when like CADV was built, for example, or the senior center, you know, you're getting various grants and you co-sponsor or you sponsor those grants. This is very much in line with that type of process.
All right. That's also on the agenda today as the County Commission meets at 1:30. Commissioner Delmo Andreozzi is our guest today in advance of the session. And so we appreciate your time here going over the agenda.
You bet.
Yeah, keeping the community informed. Elko County Finance is item J, and that is to present a corrective action plan for the financial audit. So there were some findings and recommendations?
Yeah, there were. And, you know, we really had an amazing audit. That our team down there is doing really, really well. But it's not uncommon that you have some issues. And one of them has to do with our ambulance and how, you know, it was an enterprise fund and now we're moving it to a different kind of fund. And, you know, because the ambulance service really, truly, it would be very difficult for it to make it on its own. You know, it's got to be, especially since we've grown that service all the way out into the Spring Creek area. So it needs to be subsidized a little bit, and so and that's okay because we're talking about you know, an essential service to our citizens, and that's you know, something that I feel really strongly about, you know, because it's about that advanced life-saving services that they can provide to people who are in distress and hopefully get them to a place where they can be treated and get better, because that's the ultimate goal. So there was a couple little, and it's very common that you're going to have some corrective actions, but the process is to bring it before the governing board so that you acknowledge it, so you accept it, and it's very routine, I would say.
All right, Delmo. So that's also up, item J on the agenda today. There's going to be some discussion, some fencing, a fencing project, it looks like, and some internet communications for Great Basin Children's Advocacy Center. The fencing is for juvenile detention.
Yeah, so we do have a budgeted item that we had to replace the gate over at the Juvenile Detention Center, so we've gone out to bid, and this is under what we have budgeted, although this is going to require some additional financing for some of the power. It's a powered gate, so that's above and beyond this. So there's plenty to cover it, and you know, again, it's a secured facility, and you need to have controlled access into the facility, and that's what that is.
All right, and then on to the big agenda item, and that's probably going to discuss takes much of the discussion, or at least some public comment, Delmo. And
for sure,
yeah, the school district capital projects property tax. So item M1 is discussion and consideration of sending a letter to the incorporated cities and the television district, encouraging each entity to consider reducing a portion of their additional ad valorem rate that each respective entity levied in fiscal year 2023 in an effort to help fund school district capital projects. So when the voter-approved school district capital funding expired in June of 2022, the following entities, through action of their individual governing boards, increased their respective ad valorem tax rate made available when the pay-as-you-go funding was retired by voters. So Elko County, 50 cents, City of Carlin, 20, City of Elko, 20 cents, City of Wells, 20 cents, City of West Wendover, 20 cents, the television district, 5 cents. Mm-hmm. Comments on that, Delmo?
Sure.
I'll let you open up the floor.
Well, I'll tell you, Lori, this you'll have to keep me in check here, because I could spend quite a little bit of time on this, and I don't want to get into, you know, let me know if I'm getting into too much detail, because there's a lot to unpack here. There really is, and so you know, I want to back up to AB 519, which was Assembly Bill 519, which was passed last year. And right after that was passed, I remember, I'm sure you remember, Lori, I came in and you and I had spoken specifically about that bill. And I told you, for me, that there was, you know, there were a couple of good elements of the bill, and then there was a part that wasn't so good. And in fact, Elko County Commission has we've filed a lawsuit against the state regarding basically the bad part of that bill. And just to refamiliarize our listeners what that was, basically the legislature said to Elko County, and they didn't, it was interesting because it was a population threshold, which is normally the way legislation is done. But it said population between this, and then in brackets said currently Elko County. So they singled Elko County out and said that you will give 1 cent, levy a 1 cent ad valorem tax for the school district program, and up to 25 cents, and you can go over the cap. And if you don't do that, we'll do it for you at 25 cents. So it was really, I've never seen them single out one county like that, which is very troubling, and I don't think that that's a precedent that we want to see set in the state of Nevada. I think we have to stand up against that one little piece. Again, part of that discussion was, taxes again are super complicated, but there's a cap, and the cap has been in. So we have a taxing district that's Elko County. It's one large taxing district. Elko County School District has the same taxing district. So the other entities are inside of that larger taxing district, and they overlap. So you can't go over $3.65 of taxation, property tax, and we're talking about property tax here. So the overlapping taxing districts are ECBA, the cities, the TV district, and all the library, and there are a handful of other ones. And for a long time, because of I think it was pretty sure it was West Wendover and the city of Carlin, we collectively were at the cap. And there's also an abatement rule that was passed a bunch of years ago, so it really didn't even make sense to raise the tax. But the county itself could not have raised the tax because we were at the tax cap with the overlying districts. And so when the pay-as-you-go was going to go away, so the school district had two different taxes. They had 75 cents property tax for their operating, and then they had the 75 cents for pay-as-you-go, as you recall. And you recall that was going to go away. So part of the plan was, and it had to do with the abatements, but Elko County has a lot of capital needs as well. So we wanted to make sure that we had sewn up a little bit of that, and we did. We absorbed 50 cents of that before it was subject to the abatements, and it generates that 50 cents generates about $8.6 million a year, and of that, we dedicated 6 cents to pay for the wildland protection fee, which is an astronomical number that we have to pay the state every year, and it's for our wildfire risk, and that's how we get paid back if we have a fire. That's kind of like an insurance. So it costs us 6 cents of ad valorem to do that. So, and we locked up the rest of the 44 cents in capital. Okay, and so at the same time, and I don't know what the other cities did, but in the agenda it talks about they absorbed those taxes. We're not sure what purposes they used. I'm just telling you what Elko County did. So we've gone through that process, and then this is the one part that's really good of the AB 519. It created this subcommittee, which is supposed to be meeting, and they have met. And I would expect some kind of a recommendation come up from them, kind of organically, and have a lot of public out. I see there's a great opportunity for everybody to really be involved and engaged in capital projects for the school district. I really see it as a positive thing. So, we're in the process of doing that. Basically, all we've done, we've created an ordinance that allows us to raise this tax by resolution. So we still need to do that. We need to at least do a penny before the end of this fiscal year. And the commission also said we are not going to go above the tax. So in other words, we're going to share from that 50 cents that we've already gotten. We're not going to go over the cap. And for me personally, I wouldn't want to be the highest tax county in the state. I just wouldn't do that. So, I would shift that piece of the ad valorem that we have over to do that. That's how, and that's what we voted to do, is that we're not going to go over that cap. So part of the communication and process is that we did have someone come say that they had wanted 22 cents for the school district, and I know we have one commissioner that's been very passionate about being very slow and making sure there's public hearings, a lot of public input regarding this before we get too far over our skis, if you can appreciate that analogy. And so that's kind of where we are. In fact, we're having a public workshop during the next regular scheduled county commission meeting, which is March 6th. We have it scheduled for 3:30 in the afternoon, but if the regular meeting goes long, then it will happen at 3:30 or after. We have a public workshop, and again, we invite people we want people to be there so that we can have an open dialogue and have a conversation about this. For me, from the very beginning, this is just nothing more than priorities. I'd like to push, also include this in part of our, and I said this at the last commission, is we need to get this into the budget process so that we identify what our priorities are. We have priorities at the jail. We have this judicial center, which we got a price tag on. These are big dollars, and so we need to be able to prioritize all these needs. And at the same time, this 44 cents is getting watered down really quickly. And I'm not saying it's not warranted, but there is support from the commission on the Air Alliance to maybe dedicate a couple of cents so that we can help keep the airport afloat, so that that gets into that, and then possibly carving out a cent or so to that the charter schools or other schools could apply for capital needs. And then there's this piece with the Elko County School District. So the public workshop that we're going to have is a key piece of that. And I think what happened, and this was, I wasn't aware of it, so I'm just going to tell you what I know. So apparently there was a survey that went out. I shouldn't say apparently, there was a survey because I've seen it that had gone out. I wasn't even sure where it originated from, but it's my understanding that it was originated from Elko County's manager's office. It was initiated and sent out. So, and again, for me, I'm just going to say how I feel. A survey, it might be a tool, but that's all it is, because if it's an anonymous tool, I don't know that I really put a lot of support in just a survey. That's just me personally. I want to see something a little bit more maybe authentic, or something that's more data driven than just a survey monkey. So anyway, that's out there and right now, and it's on the county's website. And I don't know exactly who it got distributed to, but subsequently it did get distributed out to school district member, other city or other community members. I'm not sure exactly how it's getting communicated out there, but it is on our website. And I think the important thing for me to say is all of this process is new, right? And so we're all just kind of feeling our way through this. This has never been done before. And I do believe it's a good process. And I do believe we're going to trip up now and again as we do things. I think for me personally, in retrospect, like I said, the weight that I give a survey is probably, I don't know if that's a good thing to do. The public workshop, absolutely, absolutely. Let's have the public workshop and have some conversation. As far as reaching out to the other cities, for me personally, I guess a letter is one way to do that. I think it's important for, if we, and the reason why we're including these is all because of this tax cap, okay? All this tax cap. So if you get and we're overlying tax caps, and am I getting too weedy on you here?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm sorry if I am, and I apologize to the listeners if I am. If you want, we can go have a cup of coffee and I can draw this all out for you more. And I know it's really a lot, and I apologize for that. Because of the tax cap, and because we've made the decision that we're not going to go over to the tax cap, for us to, I already said we've got 6 cents committed, another 2 to 3 cents, so that leaves about 22 or 44 cents minus the 6 minus whatever else we end up doing. You take that in half, and it's 10, 15 cents, whatever it is, if it's in half, It certainly could be more than half. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. But a way to be able to do that would be to have a conversation with the other taxing industries that are within this overlapping taxing district, and see if they'd be willing to reduce their tax so that we would be in a position that we could raise it without, again, going over the cap, if that makes sense. That's a really long explanation, I think, Lori, and I hopefully I've explained it in a way that's understandable.
Well, Delmo, I think that people listening and very interested in this topic appreciate the time and the detail that you've given to it. So I wouldn't worry about that. And you have the radio time, so that's not an issue either. We appreciate that you come on the program and talk about these issues, Delmo, because some commissioners don't. And I think that lends to some of the distrust, I guess, in some of these issues. I think that you brought up a couple of interesting things. The 2 cents steered toward a charter school.
Well, it would be a budget discussion. So there's been that, and it was like a penny, but maybe 2 cents to the Air Alliance. But again, those all have to go through the budget process.
Oh no, right. Air Alliance is one thing, but to a charter school, that should be a ballot initiative.
It could very well be.
It should be a ballot initiative. That's not something that county commissioners should just direct money toward.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea has been proposed. So again, it would have to go through the whole process. It hasn't happened, right? It has not happened. So it'd have to go through the budget process to happen. So, but it's been something that's been proposed.
But can you see why there'd be concern? Because we know that among the individual county commissioners that were steering voters to, shoot down the pay-as-you-go, now they're in favor of steering taxpayer money to a private charter school.
Well, and as I understand it, and Will Adler, who sponsored AB 519, he actually said that he himself said that these monies could be used for charter schools. He said that during the last county commission meeting as well. So I think that's, I don't know that it's against the law, but certainly you have to find out what all the sideboards are, because
just because you can doesn't mean you should. I mean, nobody's saying that commissioners are trying to do something that's illegal, but the fact is that you're funneling money toward a very special interest, and at the same time, money has been taken away from a capital fund for public schools. Well,
and again, I think what specifically that is, there's no detail. We'd need more detail. I was just trying to tell you what some of the competing interests for those dollars are.
And no, that's a good thing, Delmo, that you did that. And I hope you understand too, the conversation is really just about that trust and transparency.
Of course.
And the survey itself, there have never been surveys done for like the ARPA money that was, several $1 million that went to horse racing and the fair and the Spring Creek Horse Palace and even the Lions Club camp. There was no survey about that. The $15 million set aside for an event center, there's no survey for that. As you said, the $88 million Justice Complex, there's no survey, no input from the community. Yeah. And this isn't directed toward you. These are just the issues being discussed in the community right now.
Absolutely. And I have no issue with that. Like I said, I'm not personally a fan of a survey. Okay? I'm just going to say that. I don't think that's the way you do things. There's a public if it was regular part of public business, it would be in the open meeting law that you shall conduct surveys. So let me just get that out there and say I don't think that that's something we should do either, or should have done. Again, I don't think there are enough real guidelines into how we get coordination and people working together. So I do see it as possibly a tool, but nothing more than that. And really, again, the way I see it, the committee, I think that's some of the heavy lifting that they could be doing. But that is my own opinion.
And you're not on that committee.
I'm not on that committee.
And which commissioners are on the committee?
Just you have John Carr that's on the committee, and then there are a host of other folks that are on that committee. But I'm not on that committee. But
are you
I
on
think
the,
that I think I was just going to say I think that is where some of that a lot of that communication could happen, right? Whether it's with the city or the TV district or whoever it is. So I think more or less it's like, we're just kind of trying to feel our way through this. I don't think that I certainly understand why people would be concerned about the survey, the way it was drafted, the way it was. I get that, but I don't think that there was any malice intent whatsoever. I think you have any manager and any governing board. They've got their elected officials are like herding cats. So you're trying to get figure out what each one wants. And like I said, we've had one commissioner been very vocal about this being uber public involvement, and I think that maybe that was thought. Hey, here's another way to involve the public. That's my own guess, though, Lori. I don't know.
Oh, sure. And I think moving on to beyond the survey, because it is not certainly not an inclusive survey, and it's not scientific by any means,
No.
and it does lend to the idea that the county commission's trying to tell the school board of trustees, also elected officials, what to do with their resources, which you could understand, because the county commission is suing because they don't like being told by the state government what to do.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I can't speak for the other commissioners, but it's kind of like there was a comment about whatever funds they have left with pay as you go. I mean, I don't even see that as a part of this. I see that in a different
and it was
pool,
included in the survey, right?
Yeah, and so I for me that's a ship that already sailed, So but again, that's me. That's the way I look at it. And so with this particular with just this particular item, what we know for sure is that the AB 19 says that we need to levy a tax somewhere between 1 and 25 cents for the school district, and it goes into and the way it works is kind of vague, but it looks like it goes into account that ultimately the school district is ultimately they really are still in charge of how they spend that money, the way I interpret it. And the other good thing about that is the state has put aside some additional funds. They've created another account, which is also part of AB 519, which allows you to leverage $1 to $1. So if let's say the school district has this capital fund set aside and there's this property tax going into it, they can go to the state and ask for a match, and that so you're doubling and that's really the issue. That's one of the beautiful things about AB 519 is because the smaller rural areas don't have the tax base to build the infrastructure that's required for a school, so that is helpful.
And that's important too. Commissioners aren't suing over that aspect of the bill. You're suing because you don't want to be told what to do by the state.
Yeah,
so that's what the lawsuit's over. And then I just wanted to point out too, on the agenda today, this is not listed as an action item. So whether or not it's agendized, it just says discussion and consideration. And so there's no.
Are you talking about M1?
M1.
I have 4 possible actions
down here under commission meeting. Where's that on your? Oh, right. But before Heather Steele public comment.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, no problem.
So there could be action. The action would be sending a letter. You're not actually deciding the tax rate.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Important consideration.
Again, I just in my own simplistic way of thinking about things is like, it's going to be a challenge for, I think, in my opinion, based on the priorities that the county has, to get all the way to 25 cents, right? And so if we decide we want to get to 25 cents, we need to have some cap rate available. And the only other way to do that is, and if only just one city does it, it doesn't work. It has to be all of them. So the TV district is one that's a little bit different because it doesn't have the same geographical
and they
boundary.
just grabbed a bunch of money.
They that's
with no accountability to the community.
Well, and you submit that to Department of Taxation every year, and they add a 5 cent ad valorem.
Paul Gardner was on the TV board. He was an elected official, Delmo.
Yeah.
They worked hard to make sure that they brought that down to the lowest amount, and then this board, for whatever reason, just clawed back every cent of that.
Yeah.
So that's an issue. So.
Yeah. So and I think so. Hopefully, I think if everybody, if the ultimate decision is to get to 25 cents, let's say hypothetically that's the ultimate decision, then the county can do some from their part, and if we can get the cities and the TV district to reduce a little bit, then we get
a couple of cents is what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, we get a little bit closer.
So that's
to
why
that.
you're looking at this agenda as a positive item in that sense.
Oh,
if we can
absolutely.
Get past.
For me, I think that sending a letter is not. I think we should make a phone call or invite them to a meeting or something like that.
To the workshop you're talking about.
Yeah, or something. Or go see them. Go see them and say. And ask them, hey, is this something you have any appetite to do?
Or maybe that committee, as you talked about, the Advisory Committee. So we could talk for another half an hour, but I need to
told
send you
ya.
to a meeting. I
told ya.
know. No apologies. This is an issue that we probably should have started off, but we wanted to follow the agenda. This is among the last items on the agenda today. The last question I have, Delmo, I have not confirmed this, but it isn't something that was brought to our attention that there are 2 sitting county commissioners who are active on an exploratory committee for a charter private school in Elko. Are you one of those commissioners?
I am not.
Do you know if the other commissioners?
I think they are, but I don't know that for sure.
And do you know that they haven't disclosed that in public meetings?
I don't recall ever hearing that.
Because that's where there could be a conflict.
Yeah,
honestly, in fairness.
Sure. No, we're supposed to disclose conflicts or things that could be perceived as conflicts. Even you're supposed to check with the legal team to find out. So.
Okay, so that's more to be determined on that, I guess.
Yeah.
Delmo?
No, and again, Lori, this is a great conversation because
Thank you.
You and I are talking in real time, and we're talking about things. When I think the most harmful thing that happens is people take information and spin it in a negative way. It's so, this is a very key way for us to just have an open dialogue about, and I'm giving this to you from my perspective, and certainly however the commission ends up voting on these things, I would definitely tell you on how that goes. But this is important so that so that we get rid of the hearsay, because those things, that kind of stuff divides us. So, if we're just open and have conversation with people, we build that trust that you're talking about. We build that trust, and we can get a lot more done. And that, again, is the other piece of wisdom in this 519. I think there's the potential that it's going to force us to work together and for the best interest of Elko County.
We'll have to follow up on that one because there are also some concerns that by suing over 519, it could blow it all apart, Delmo, and that we could lose this opportunity altogether.
Well, and I sure hope not, but I don't think, I think unfortunately, like I said, we were kind of forced into that situation. I think it's a very slippery slope to do that. If they can do that to one county, they can do it to any jurisdiction, any taxing authority. Say, you want this, you need to raise the tax. And the fact that they would allow you to go over the cap is mind-boggling, because the cap has been in place for 20 years or maybe longer, so it's been there a long time. So It's really mind-boggling how they would, you have this one thing that allows you to do that.
Well, next time we meet, Delmo, we'll talk about this and more. The Air Alliance is important. Retiring the ECVA debt in March of 2026. That's crucial.
That's another biggie.
$6 million balloon payment. That wasn't even talked about today. So there's a lot more to come.
There is.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for having me.
Thank you. Please don't speed. We'll get you down to the courthouse in time. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. Appreciate the time. Appreciate you, County Commissioner Delmo Andreozzi.
Thank you, Lori.